Welcome, everyone. We're glad that you joined us for Ask Me Anything about PRMP certification. We are prepared to take all of your questions and hopefully provide you some important information and good answers as you prepare for your PRMP journey. My name is Penny Woolery, and I'm the manager of certification and membership for AACE International. I'm going to be one of your hosts, kind of managing some things here on the back end. Valerie Smith, who will also be manning the question and answer portion of your questions through the box, which I'll get to you in a minute about that. Val, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Valerie Smith. I'm the Senior Credentialing Analyst, and I'll be your point of contact when you have any questions or when you submit your application all the way through your certification.
Thank you, Valerie. So just a point of how this webinar will be conducted. You will not be able to speak to the panelists that are making their way to the webinar. You will use the icon at the bottom of your screen that has a Q&A. There are two bubbles and a Q&A below it, and that's where you'll click and write your answer. Valerie will look at the queue and she'll ask those questions on your behalf, and then the panelists will give an answer so that everyone can hear that answer. You can use the chat box if you have something specifically to ask me or one of the panelists. We often use the chat area to give you links to documents or areas on our website, so pay attention to that. But make your questions exclusively in the Q&A area. And now I'm going to turn it over to the chairman of the certification board, Charlie Boyard. It's all yours, Charlie.
Thanks, Penny. And thank you and Valerie for being here. So I want to thank everyone for joining us for our webinar to discuss AACE's professional level project risk management professional certification. And our panel this evening is going to be the chair of the PRM committee of the certification board, Suresh Kataria. And we're expecting also to have the other member of that committee, Manish Kalaprasad, to also participate in responding to your questions. And so with that, Penny, it's back to you.
All right. Well, as I said, for the attendees that are here, I do notice that there's some technical issues. I see that two of our panelists are shown in the attendees window. So if you all would make your way to the chat, Valerie has given you the correct link for you to join so that people can see you and hear you to answer any questions that they may have. So while we're waiting for those two panelists to join us in this room, those of you that are here as attendees, please get your questions in the question and answer box. Maybe you have a little bit of time to think about it. While we wait for Suresh and Manish to join. Here comes Manish right now. Welcome, Manish. But just get your questions there so that Valerie can get those in the queue and start asking those questions. Valerie, I don't see anything in there yet. So I don't know where to begin. I'm waiting for Suresh to join in the panelist link. I see that he's still there. And we just want to know what it is that you want to know about PRMP. It's the newest certification that we just launched last year after a robust beta test. And it seems that it's been a little slow to take off, and I'm sure that maybe people have questions. And that was the reason that we decided to have these Ask Me Anything, so that people can have the opportunity to talk about how to study for the exam, what to expect on the exam, what are some tips and tricks for handling the memo. There are a lot of things out there, but they're kind of hard to navigate on the website. There's so much information that this is your opportunity to anything that you've been thinking about, whether it's study materials, what is the value of PRMP certification, whatever it is, this is your opportunity to ask us so that we can have that direct dialogue with you. So I encourage you, don't be afraid to be the first person to write the question. So ask us your questions, and we're here to answer them. Charlie, Val, anyone have anything to add?
Well, I was going to welcome Manesh and wave and say hello. So can you tell us how many PRMPs we currently have?
I can. If you keep the dialogue, I'm going to go to a different screen and find that information. I just did some reports today, so I'll be able to tell you that in 1 second. And Valerie, if there's any questions, you can proceed with that as well.
There are no questions yet. I think Suresh is having a difficult time with the link. Let me just, oh wait, there is a question. It just came up. And for some reason, I'm having technical difficulties now.
Oh no.
Okay, so somebody says, I'm doing my CERT exam within the next month. Are there any other study materials outside of the study guide and TCM that help to focus on the relevant materials?
Yeah, I'm going to jump in on that one and say yes. If you have the study guide, and within the study guide you'll find reference to the recommended practices that are the basis for the technical aspects of the PRMP. So being very familiar with the content of those recommended practices is going to be very beneficial, along with any of the other reference materials that are listed in the study guide. And Manesh, if you'd like to add something to that or have some guidance for the person asking the question, you're quite welcome to join in.
Yes, thank you, Charlie. So my experience when doing the beta exam is I did use a few other resources that are easily available out there, simply because the SNK, the guide at the time, was the only source of study material available. So you had, or I had to resort to using some industry material that is available out there. And should it be required, we can share a suggested resource list that could prove useful. But again, it is on a case-by-case basis, and the AACE study material is of a refined enough nature at this point in time for the exam or the people interested in actually taking up the PRMP exam to solely rely on that. So that's what I have to offer. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you. That's a very, very good response.
And Charlie, I just wanted to say the total number as of April 30th is 25 PRMPs. So this is the perfect opportunity if you want to get a low numbered certification for PRMP. It shows that, as the certification grows, when you have a low number, that means that you are an early adopter of the certification and among the first of 25 now, but you would be clearly in, if you achieve it, you would be clearly in the first 50.
Yeah,
some people put a lot of weight in the certification number.
Right.
I have another question. I understand this meeting is about PRMP certification. However, I'm still debating whether to apply for DRMP or PRMP. But I see that there's a note on the DRMP page that says we are not currently accepting new DRMP examination applications at this time. The Apply Now button is deactivated. Is this still valid? Why are you not accepting DRMP applications at the moment? Do you know when you would be accepting them?
I can take that one. So yes, the DRMP is still being reviewed and reconstituted once we established the PRMP certification. Then we set about to revise and revitalize the DRMP. And we're looking at the fourth quarter of this calendar year as the relaunch for the DRMP. So that's kind of the basic response. And so the DRMP will be coming back, but expect that around the, in the fourth quarter of 2023.
Nice.
Next question is, so there's 25 PRMPs. Can you indicate how many DRMPs there are? And since I had an advance notice of this question, I looked it up already. There's 20. Okay, great response to the study materials. I've achieved PSP and know how tricky the memo is. Any tips on this? I found the challenge being more around comprehension and communication over technical.
So I'll jump in on that one too, Val, and then obviously Manesh or Suresh are welcome to participate as well. So with respect to the memo, I think your observation is that the emphasis is on the communication skill, not so much the technical aspects, and so. The memo is set up to challenge your ability to read and understand a question, to frame the question in an appropriate manner, and then to respond by assessing the situation and providing recommended action items. And it's set up to be with you, the examination candidate, responding to a situation or circumstance by a senior level manager within your project or within your organization. And that's the basic premise of it. There's a really good article that provides guidance on how to approach the memo type questions. And that was in AACE's source publication. I'm going to say about 6 weeks ago, might have been a little longer than that. But if you go to the website and look to the source publication component of the website, you should not have to look back very far in order to identify, how to write a successful memo.
Valerie had put that in the chat as well. And what I'm going to do, Suresh is still I promoted him to a panelist on the side. It's not working. I'm going to click the button to allow him to talk. So there he is. So Suresh, if you can hear me, please unmute yourself. And if you have anything to add to any of the conversation that has happened thus far, I'm so sorry that you're having technical difficulties, but you are now part of the panelist team and are able to speak.
Yeah, thank you. Hope you can hear me now. Yeah, thanks for allowing me to speak here. I don't know what's going on here, but I think, well, if you can repeat the question, I was just struggling with my technical challenges, so maybe I can kind of just chime in on that.
Sure. The question was, I've achieved the PSP and know how tricky the memo is. Any tips on this? I found the challenge being more around comprehension and communication over technical.
Right. Yeah. So I think the purpose of memo, as Charlie mentioned, is, yes, obviously we're testing candidates for their technical abilities through the multiple choice questions, but the memo is focused more in terms of understanding whether the candidate is able to communicate the outcomes of risk assessment to their superiors and within the team, because most often than not, the challenge lies over in terms of what was being analyzed and how the team was able to understand the outcome of those assessments. So we're looking from that perspective for candidates to show their experience that they have been able to do this exercise in their past and were able to communicate and handle situations from real-time projects.
Great.
Manesh,
There are no, oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say Manesh clicked off his or opened his microphone, so I thought maybe he was waiting for an opportunity to chime in.
It's always about communication, and as Suresh's protocols and format, and the
Oh no.
Oh, we lost him. Oh,
Yeah,
goodness.
it seems Manesh is having some computer difficulties as well. Just so that all the attendees know, please be patient with us. Manesh is actually in South Africa, so I'm sure that he's in a different time zone, and there could be some power outages there, which we've learned does happen quite frequently there.
And it's the middle of the night there.
And it is the middle of the night, yes.
12 hours.
So when he comes back, we'll give him the opportunity to finish what he was trying to say. But if you have any other questions, please, there he comes. Please, once again, give us your questions so that we can help you as you're considering PRMP. Manesh, we're so sorry we lost you.
Yeah, apologies for that, Penny. Thanks. I seem to be having some technical challenges on my side as well. I'm not sure at which point you lost me, but I was just reiterating what Charlie and Suresh had both said, in the sense that the intent of the memo is purely the communication aspect. And as anyone who is a practitioner in the project environment knows very well, communication is key amongst any of the stakeholders. And that is just the intent of the memo itself. And I also made a comment, I'm not sure if I was disconnected at that particular point in time, but the intent of the rest of the format of the examination is to test the technical aspect. So therefore the memo is there purely to test the communication aspect of the candidate.
Yes.
Thank you, Penny. Thank you,
Nicely
Charlie.
said. Thank you,
Thanks,
Manesh.
Manesh.
Yeah. So I don't see any other questions there yet. So let me just throw this out there. This has been a very popular question through the other 8, or no, we had 6 Ask Me Anything sessions. So for those that are considering the certification and their attendees here to learn more about it, could you give an idea to the attendees of how you got started in this area of project risk management, and just any tips on that type of experience, how you felt it helped you when taking the exam? I know, Manesh, you actually did take the exam. Suresh was part of the task force in building it, or no, I think Suresh took it as well. I'm losing track of who was on the task force and who actually sat for the exam, but any information that you can give in that regard, I think might be helpful to our attendees.
Sure, Penny. If I can take that first. I think as a beta exam candidate, I found it a little bit daunting initially, simply because of the, shall I say, the refinement of the documentation available at that particular point in time. Being a past exam taker in the form of the certified cost professional and the earned value professional, I found that the experience this time around was vastly different, simply because it wasn't a case of having to rely purely on the study guide material being refined to the point that you felt you were prepared enough to actually take the examination. That's just the way I felt. And therefore I had to resort to some other resource material just to kind of safeguard that aspect from the study preparedness perspective. I think the experience for me itself, being in projects for the last 25 odd years, it goes without saying that risk is a domain of project controls that, whether we choose to see it as risk per se or not, is an inherent dimension of whether we are purely in the costing domain or planning domain or decision making or any of the other AACE standalone credentials. So in effect, risk is already encapsulated in those domains.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, pursuing the PRMP was something that I saw as I would like to become more proficient in that particular domain itself, and actually be seen as someone who could actually facilitate something like risk management workshops. Because in most industries that I've worked on, a risk practitioner is someone that is generally not immediately as a named individual per se, and oftentimes it's a task that is left to one of the other project team members, and thereby it diminishes, or it can be perceived to diminish, the importance of risk on a project. And unfortunately, it's only found out far too late down the line. So I do believe that the PRMP, and this is purely my personal view, it is an industry credential that is far more important than one immediately gives the importance to it. And I do believe that given the time, it will mature to the level that some of our more mature credentials currently are. By example, the CCP, which originally started, I believe, as CCE way back in the day when I actually took the credential.
Right.
Yep. Thank you, Penny. Not sure if that actually answers the question, but that's been my experience.
I thought it was great. Thought that was great. Suresh, do you have anything to share?
Yeah, sure. No, so I think I'll just talk about, how I kind of came into the risk, world and ended up getting the certification. So, I kind of started traditionally from, during my college, doing my undergrad in civil engineering. As I was working through that, I transitioned into construction management, and wherein project controls, cost estimating, scheduling was a key component of that. So it kind of sparked my interest. And then when I landed in industry, working within project controls, as Minesh was saying, that you just cannot ignore the element of risk, whether it's the cost estimating or the scheduling. So I was also already working on elements of risk through for project development when we were working on some assignments over there. And over time, just kind of as part of me focusing on the risk, utilizing AACE resources over there, at that point in time, I started focus more and more on the qualitative and quantitative assessments. So that helped me continue in my professional career. And it came to a point where when I first, until we had the PRMP certification, I was putting my eye on the DRMP once I have this sufficient experience and everything. But then the great thing happened. AACE, we launched PRMP. So I was like, this will be a perfect place for me to get that certification, solidify the work that I'm doing in the industry as risk practitioner over the years, and making sure that I am getting the certification and then continue through this. But so that was kind of my kind of thought process and the process that went along in getting from college all the way to like working in the industry, and then finally getting the PRMP certification. A big part of that was obviously there was many years where I was working in project controls arena, gaining my experience, doing a lot of risk identification or assessment work, supporting through AACE recommended practices, and that was basically a foundation for me to progress into this area.
So Penny, if I can add, and I think those are both very, very excellent descriptions of career paths. from the standpoint of what we're seeing, at least through our firm's experience, is that there's an increasing demand across a number of industries, whether it's power, oil and gas, governmental, general, even in the IT and more technical world. We're seeing more and more demand for people with the risk management skills, and the emphasis is showing earlier in project development phase. In other words, we're seeing more requests for initial risk assessments during the planning phase and during the early design phases, so people aren't waiting until they're actually in project mode. But then the good thing about that is it carries over into the project mode, and even in some cases beyond project turnover into operation and maintenance. So I think the descriptions that Suresh and Manesh gave are very, very apropos to what we're seeing globally in interest in risk management.
Nice. Awesome. So I see we still don't have any questions in the little Q&A box area there. Don't be shy. There is not any strange question. They're all valid, and we are here to help get you on the right track or give you the right information. So just since you're all still listening and maybe considering some questions to ask, Valerie, could we maybe go over the application process? Like, what are the eligibility requirements, and about how long does it take once they submit an application to get cleared to sit for the exam?
Sure. Thanks for putting me on the spot.
Yes.
So to be eligible to sit for the PRMP, you have to have 8 years of industry experience, 4 of which can be substituted with an industry-related degree. Now, that 4 years does not have to be specifically risk, but it definitely is helpful to have the risk experience, especially because the competencies are, not only learned from books or whatever, but it's also experience, especially like the communication component. So then once you submit your application and make your payment, the application comes to me, and it generally takes a couple business days for me to review your application and send you your clearance. So because that's a very short period of time, we do recommend that you do your studying ahead of time before you complete your application, so that when you receive your clearance, you are ready to take your exam. From the point that I send you your clearance, you have 6 months in which to take your exam up to 3 times. 2 of those are at a reduced fee. So if you're studying after you have received your clearance, it's going to take you take up a big chunk of your time that you could use for your resits if necessary. And we tell people to kind of plan ahead. We give you the expected results calendar because, of course, the memo, since it's a written component, it needs to be graded. So there are grading cycles that run every month, and the cycles start on or around the 15th of every month. So if you are waiting to the end to say you're cleared July 1st, and then you have till January 1st to take your exam up to 3 times. And you're like, I need to study. And then you decide on December 27th, you're going to take your exam. Your memo will be included in the following grading cycle, which would be January 15th. And then you would receive your results for 2 to 3 weeks after that. Of course, then your registration is expired. You're not eligible for your reduced fee resits. To take the exam again, if you fail, you would have to begin a new registration period and pay the full exam fees. So we do encourage you. It requires a little bit of planning. I can work through it with you if you need help with that. But that's pretty much the brunt of it.
Nicely done for putting you on the spot, Valerie.
So are there any questions pending, Penny?
I don't see anything in there yet.
Nope.
So for the individual that asked earlier, saying, you know, I'm considering PRMP, but where does the DRMP stand? In addition to the response that I provided, we have the recording from the Ask Me Anything webinar for the DRMP. And is it possible to put a link for that?
Yeah, I'll go.
Into the chat?
Are you getting it, Val? I'll go get it. I'll go get it.
Okay. So as with all of our professional level and expertise level certifications, with an eye toward accreditation, we have a recertification cycle that runs every 3 years. And so once you achieve your PRMP, that starts the clock on your window to recertify within 3 years. And you can do that by keeping track of and earning continuing education units. And you need 12 units, 12 hours of verifiable CEUs over that 3-year period. Or you can wait till close to the end of the 3 years and take the exam again and recertify that way. So for someone who is considering the PRMP, please remember that once you achieve the certification, which we will applaud and help celebrate, that does start the clock on your 3-year recertification period.
Absolutely, Charlie. We do recommend that as soon as you become certified, you open up a recertification application and start plugging in CEUs. If that is going to be the way you want to recertify. There are a few people who do recertify by exam, but the majority of people do recertify by CEUs. I personally wouldn't want to sit through an exam twice. So, you know, I just put the link for both, for recertification by exam and for recertification by CEU. There are a lot of really great resources on the page for the recert by CEUs. There's a handbook. There's a handbook for if you're audited. There's a guide that gives you step-by-step information, what you need to do. There's a list of potential opportunities that in the categories for the CEUs. I can put that out there too. Just grab that.
Yes, the first step is to get certified, and that's what we're here to help you do, to get through that process to get certified. And there is a question. I'll take this question, Val. There's a question that says, there's a technical question. Has there been any problems with the online proctored exams? That is a very good question. So and I'm gonna share my screen here in a minute. I'm gonna show you on our website where to find this information, and just give me 1 second here. I'm gonna share my screen. So to answer your question, not really, but it is an individual thing. And what we typically find with problems with online proctored exams is if you're utilizing a work computer, or if you've got a setup in your home that doesn't meet the specifications as far as your system requirements on your laptop, or for instance, if you have an external screen and your laptop is open, that's not allowed. The laptop has to be closed if you're going to use a larger screen. So on what I'm showing here now on our web page, if you go to certification information, certifications offered, go down to professional certification, you're going to land at this page. And this is just a topical outline of what that certification is about. And then you can scroll down to PRMP. And if you click this button, it's going to open this page. And this is everything related to PRMP certification, from eligibility requirements, how much it costs. And then you're going to see in that third column at the very top, it's right here where I'm highlighting right here. There are helpful pre-check information for either finding a testing center. If you want to take it at a testing center, that is still an option. Or if you want to do online proctored, this will take you to the system requirements. And that is right here. It's at the Criterion, our vendor, which will give you a lot of information. Or you actually can select this button, which will actually do a check of your system to see if it's up to speed. Valerie, do you have anything more guidance related to online proctored that might be beneficial to the question that was asked? Sorry.
Yeah, I think that you hit it. Like, you have to use you should use a non-work computer. Some people are able to use a work computer, but they have to go through their IT department to make sure that they have administrative, the candidate has the administrative rights, that there are no firewalls, and a lot of times that does not work out. So definitely a home computer is your best bet. And then for the exam itself, you're going to have to download a program that basically supports the use of, it disallows you from being able to use other applications or go to any other links or websites or anything during your exam. And the instructions are in the clearance email, but I recommend that you do it not right before you're supposed to launch your exam. Do it the day before, do it a few hours before. This way, if there are any issues, any technical issues, you can contact Criterion directly. Unfortunately, AACE does not have the ability to troubleshoot technical error or technical issues with the exam. But that gives them time to help you out, to get everything in place so that when it's time to launch your exam, you're good to go.
That's really good advice. And as Val was speaking, I was opening some of the links from what are the system requirements here. And what she was talking about is the Respondus secure browser. So what it basically does is it locks down your computer so that it keeps the content secure, but it also doesn't allow you to use, some other kind of website or whatever that could potentially, a lot of people want to cheat on exams. So there are a lot of sneaky ways to do that. And this helps to stop from pop-ups coming, going to another website. Another thing to remember is, especially when you're writing your memo, and this is true for a testing center and online proctored, you have to be careful with your keystrokes, like a Control-Alt-Delete, things like that will lock down your computer. It'll stop your exam. So but all of this information is on our website, and it's in a clearance letter. It's good to know this information before you schedule your exam. Like, make sure you're aware of all of this so that you're not wasting valuable time. And as Val aptly said, if you do it on the day of your exam before this, you're going to delay it. And it's already a 5-hour exam. So you don't want to spend an hour trying to troubleshoot and get the exam to launch, and then a 5-hour exam. So you want to make sure that you know that you can meet the system requirements, you know what has to be done before you launch the exam, and you kind of are familiar with what happens if I hit the wrong keystroke, what will happen after that, or if something that I didn't do and the exam stopped, like, how do you handle that situation? I see that there's a question there, but I'm gonna also pull up our certification hub so that you can see how to get access to some of the documentation to help you prepare for your exam.
Penny, I think that was the question that you were answering.
Oh, is it? Oh, I'm so sorry. I answered the question. Wasn't paying attention. So we're ready for some more questions. Or even some input from our panelists about some important information people should know.
There's one. I had to do my application prior to the end of last business year and have run out of time. My final date is June 20th. I basically got one shot on this, correct? Let me look at the calendar really quickly. So yes, because we are already in our May grading cycle. So the next grading cycle is going to be on June 15th. If you take it, and you wouldn't have time in your registration period after that, you can take it up to and including June 20th, but that will be, if you take it after June 15th, then the next grading cycle is August 15th or thereabouts, 15th. So you wouldn't receive your results until the end of August or the beginning of September. I don't know that you want to wait that long. But if you want to reach out to me directly, I can work through that with you. I'm going to put my email address in here.
Awesome. So what I was referring to earlier, on our webpage, we have an area. If you hover over certification, certification information, certification offered, and you come all the way down to the certification hub. This is basically a centralized outlet for you to get access to a lot of information. The top area is everything that's applicable to every exam that we offer. Those are things such as policies and procedures, like if you have some type of accommodation that you need to have for your examination due to a medical condition. This is the way that you would let us know about that. What the application and terms are, whenever Val was just talking about the expected results calendar, all of this information is useful. For the CBT disruption policy is one that I was telling you about, that will tell you what to do if your exam is disrupted to issues that you didn't cause or acts of God, but also disruptions that you've created yourself by keystrokes or something veering somewhere where you shouldn't have been. And there are ways to remedy that. Don't be afraid. It doesn't mean that if you accidentally hit the wrong keystroke that you're going to be locked out and it's done. The online proctors will help to work with that to get you relaunched, and they'll just give you a warning to, like, be careful not to hit certain keys. But there's a lot of helpful information here. Then for those that are specific to an examination type, when you scroll down, it's broken down by the levels of certifications. So we have our technician, our professional, our expertise level. So this is a very useful area on the website. Bookmark it so that you can just easily come back to it. It will help you navigate through the process of certification when we're not accessible to you during normal work, after normal working hours.
We have another question. I already have the PRMP Certification Study Guide. Can you tell me if it is similar to the PRMP Study Guide in order to use it for the PRMP certification, or would you suggest that I definitely purchase the PRMP Study Guide because it is very different?
So I guess, Penny, remind me, I guess that the PRMP Certification Study Guide was prepared, I guess, many years ago. So I'll probably need to kind of look into that. But the PRMP certification guide is very focused on what you're expecting in the PRMP certification exam. So it will be highly suggested that actually you do look into the PRMP certification guide just to make sure that there are various topics that might be shown in the DRMP, which are not as focused for the exam for PRMP. So you're not spending time on elements of the DRMP that are not needed at this point in time. So that's what I would say at this point in time. I do need to go back into DRMP certification guide that was done some time ago and compare as to what portion of that would be applicable. But we did put a lot of new information in the PRMP certification guide to make it very focused and useful for this examination.
Yes, that is exactly what I would have said as well, Suresh. And to whomever asked that question, if you reach out to me, I can look at that. As Suresh had said, that study guide was written, if you all recall, we started with DRMP, and it wasn't until after that was launched, you know, in a few years in, that we realized, based on feedback from the industry, that there was a need to have this professional level certification for PRMP. So there are excerpts, there are parts of DRMP study guide that were taken, refined, but taken from there, because there were components that were taken out of the DRMP exam to help formulate the risk, the project risk parts of for PRMP. So I don't want you to think that it was, you know, for naught, and that you purchased this and it's, you know, not going to, there could be some useful information in there. But as Suresh had said, because so much has changed and it's been refined for the PRMP exam, especially after the beta exam, with a lot of feedback from other beta testers, you're probably going to get a better product with the PRMP study guide. But if you could reach out to me, I don't know who that person was, but Val, if you could put my email in there while I'm still navigating this website thing here. Thank you. I'd be happy to look that over as well, and maybe pinpoint some areas that could be useful, but you know, I'll communicate with you one-on-one related to that, and to see if we can get you squared away for preparing for PRMP.
There is another question in the queue. Are the PRMP study guide sample questions very typical of the test? Are there any other sample study tests available?
So it is the most common question that we get at every Ask Me Anything session. A lot of people want to know why we don't offer sample questions. And there actually was a similar question posed on our communities as well, that Charlie provided a very thoughtful and accurate response to. So just so that you know, the education products are handled, developed, and managed by the Education Board. That doesn't mean that we don't have any collaboration with them, because we do. We have a very robust team of technical education and certification board members who communicate regularly. But those questions, because it is an accreditation standard to have a firewall between education and certification when it comes to exam content. So to say that, is it a good representation? I would say that's fair of the questions that are in the study guide. I think it's a fair assessment that you could expect it could be relatable. To say that it is an exact replication of what's on the exam, because we don't communicate exam content to anyone outside of the certification board, that would be a stretch. But here's why we don't offer sample questions. Our exams are pretty much built on experience, a minimum of 8 years of experience. So it is pretty much assumed that, because most of our questions, well, not most, they really are all, are built on real life experiences in the industry, that it's something that a candidate should have experienced or been a part of in order to answer that question. Now, we understand that can vary for people, and that's why we have study guides as an ancillary tool for people to brush up on things and to just prepare for the exam. There are some other reasons why we don't do that. We think that it could be setting up an expectation that if you have a sample exam that you can take, that somehow will make you feel like as if that I'm sure to pass the exam. And we don't really want to, set candidates up for fail. We want to prepare you. That's why we do these Ask Me Anything sessions. We want to prepare you of how to use your already acquired knowledge and skills, and how to take that and translate that and prepare you to take the actual exam, that are giving real life examples that are throughout the questions that are formulated in the exam, based on the domains that I know Val had already put in the chat. I'm going to put Charlie on the spot because I know that we already talked about this before as you responded to the communities. Is there anything else as the chairman of the certification board that you would like to lend to this area of sample questions, test examples, things like that, that might be beneficial for our candidates to understand why we don't go that route?
Well, yes, thank you. So we are focused on testing the competencies that one would gain through their education, training, 8 years of experience. And so that's how we go about preparing the questions for the exams. The exam questions are prepared by certified subject matter experts within AACE. And so we're not attempting to test or examine your recall ability or your ability to memorize questions from the study guide or questions from some other source. What we're attempting to do through the examination questions is challenge your competencies so that you can apply everything that you've trained for, everything that you've learned, what your real life experiences are in reading, understanding, and responding to the questions. Thank you.
Sorry,
Penny, you're on mute.
I know, I'm so sorry. I hope that answered your question sufficiently, but we're here to continue talking about it if there's something else that you want to have. It's just, I think a lot of organizations out there do tout these example questions and make it appear as if, that is the way to sufficiently prepare, and some are even guaranteeing that they can pass the exam by doing that. We want to refrain from that and stick to the things that we've already shared with you as to why we don't take that approach. Are there any other questions?
There are none in the queue.
Okay. Okay, so we just got it in the chat from someone, an attendee that was sharing some information with us and needed to drop off the call, and we appreciate that. We are getting close to the hour, so I don't want to end early. I want to stay and answer any of the questions that our attendees may have. I see that we have 3 people left, and we want to give you that opportunity, but if you think of anything after the session ends, you can always reach out to us at certification@aacei.org and ask any questions. Val, Sarah, and I are always available to you. We will get to our subject matter experts. If we can't answer the question, if it's not process or procedure or policy related, and it needs to have one of our panelists answer the question, we'll get that to them. But we're here to answer your questions, and you only have 5 more minutes. So if you have anything, get your fingers moving in that text box and ask those questions, and pick their brains while they're available.
So Penny, I would remind the people participating that this session is being recorded and it will be posted and available on the website. So they're welcome to revisit this.
Yes, all of the, so once this session ends, we'll get a recording of it and we'll do some minor edits just to kind of take the front end and the back ends off. And it'll be posted on our website. So you can always come back to that area where you registered and click the link to view the recording if you need to be refreshed about anything that was discussed here today. And while we're waiting to see if there are any other questions, I'm just going to take this time before we sign off and thank our panelists for your time. Manish, I know that it's in the middle of the night for you, isn't it? We appreciate you taking the time to be here, and it's your valuable time, so that you're providing the opportunity for attendees to pick your brain and to ask questions, and we appreciate that. Suresh, the same with you. I apologize for the technical difficulties that you were experiencing, but we're glad to have you here. And of course, for Charlie and Val for always being on these sessions, giving of your time. It's very appreciated and valuable. And more importantly, for all of you attendees that signed in for us, we know that your time is valuable, and there's probably a myriad of things you could be doing right now. But we appreciate you taking the time to be on this session with us and asking your questions. And even if you didn't, just to take it all in and to get some information before you make your decision. And we hope that at some point in the near future that your application will make it across our desks, and we can help you to take this first step in PRMP certification journey. So if there isn't anything else from any of the attendees or panelists, yeah. Charlie, something.
Yeah, I was gonna add to your comments, Penny, and that is, once you achieve the PRMP certification, I'm very sure that Suresh and Manish would love to hear from you if you're interested in volunteering as a participant in the certification board, either as a memo grader or actually joining the PRMP committee of the certification board. And that is one of the opportunities that you'll find in the information that Valerie posted about earning CEUs for recertification. And you can submit questions, and if your questions are accepted and actually used in the question data bank, then you can also earn CEUs for writing questions. So lots of ways to participate beyond achieving the certification. Thank you.
Yes, but thank you for adding that, Charlie. That's very useful, and a goal to add to after achieving PRMP certification. We would love to have you be more engaged at the certification level in those areas that Charlie had already stated. So with that, it doesn't seem like we have any other questions, and we are 2 minutes to the hour, and we want to respect everyone's time. So with that, we're going to bid you farewell. Thank you for coming, and we look forward to hearing from you and seeing your name come across our desk that we can say, congratulations, you earned your PRMP certification. Don't forget, contact us anytime if you have any questions. You don't have to wait for a session like this. We're here for you at all times. So have a good evening, a good day. I don't know what time zone you're in, but thank you so much, and we'll talk soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.